Hackers have their hands on some incredibly sensitive information this morning. A data breach has exposed things like fingerprints, facial recognition data for more than 28 million people. Joining us now is cybersecurity expert and the guy who always makes me nervous, Dave Hatter, who has more information on how you can protect yourself. And Dave, with so much going on, I got to be honest with you, this is not a breach I had even heard a thing about.
Yeah, Bob, this is a big one. It happened last year, and it hasn't gotten much press. And unfortunately, I think we'll see a lot more of these. As more businesses move to the cloud, you often find these kind of data breaches are a result of misconfiguration. So they build up all of this data, and then they put it out in the cloud. It's not configured right, and unfortunately, the bad guys love this because it's not you can't get a new face or a new fingerprint, right? You can change your password, but you can't change those details about yourself.
Now, how is this different from just stealing somebody's password, that kind of thing? How is this something that's more important and will allow people different kinds of access?
Well, that's a good question, Bob. So this leads to a company called Suprema. They make a product called BioStar and other building access systems. And most of these biometrics that they built up were information they collected from people who needed access to buildings. So they got a lot of very sensitive data. The information that was leaked was 28 million records, 23 gigabytes of data, and unfortunately about 1 million fingerprints. And the big problem in this case is they didn't store the fingerprints correctly, so anyone that might have stumbled into that information literally could use that information to do all kinds of nefarious things. So you could change your password. Ideally, you could turn on multi-factor authentication, which would even potentially limit this kind of breach, but you can't change your face, you can't change your iris, you can't change your fingerprint. I mean, really ever. So if that information does leak about you, it's a huge problem that could follow you around for the rest of your life, unfortunately.
Well, with fingerprint kind of stuff, not to make light of this issue at all, but this is Mission Impossible kind of stuff, right? You know, you've got some high security clearance in some building, and all of a sudden, you know, the bad guy can make some kind of print to put on their own finger, and boom, they're off to go. That might be exaggerating it a little bit, but those are the kinds of things you're talking about.
Well, that's not entirely impossible, Bob. You're right. In fact, there's plenty of evidence out there. If you look up, there's an interesting story that hit the press about Angela Merkel. Someone took a picture of her fingerprint with a real high-resolution camera and was able to make a dummy finger that they were able to use. So, yeah, it's not as far-fetched as it sounds, and that's why I'm not saying that people should never use systems that require biometrics, but you really need to understand if you're going to give up that biometric information, how is it being stored? Is it being stored correctly, and is it hashed? Is it encrypted? So that if it is leaked, someone can't just use that for the rest of they would have a much harder time using it. So that's the key thing. If you're giving up biometrics, be careful with that because it may haunt you.
I had never heard that thing about Angela Merkel before. That's amazing. Tell me what people could do, post breach. Do people who have had their information stolen, do they even know it yet? If you think you might be one of those people, what can you do to protect yourself?
Yeah, this was primarily based in the UK, this company. Most of their customers are in Europe, so you probably haven't been hit with this, but I think you're going to see more of this, and I think folks need to seriously consider where we're at today. Should you give up biometric information? Companies like Apple know what they're doing. They do it right. But if you're considering using some type of biometric authentication, it would behoove you to understand who is the company behind it, how are they storing your data, because again, if it does get breached, you could have a problem that literally follows you around for the rest of your life. It could create employment situations. Someone might not be willing to hire you because your information was breached, and they're not going to give you access to sensitive systems as a result. So again, we're in a weird place, and folks really need to stay on top of this technology to the best they can to understand that just giving up free information about yourself without understanding where it's going can be a problem that can haunt you for a very long time.
Dave Hatter, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And hey, sometime down the road, talk to our executive producer a little bit. I want to talk to you about Zoom bombing and all these video conference issues people are having, okay?
Love to, Bob, and hopefully next time I'll have a little bit better connection and my hair won't be blowing around like this.
Hey,
thanks, man.
The hair looks lustrous and fantastic. Dave, good talking to you, buddy. Have a great day.
I'm sure.